Hi all, welcome back to Kali Linux Fundamental course. We will discuss today Module 3, Part 3. This will be the last part in Module 3. We will discuss managing surfaces in Kali Linux, how to start and stop any surface in Kali Linux, how to check the status for any surface on Kali Linux to check if it is active or inactive, and how to kill any surface if any crashes happen to the system and you want to kill the causing surface for this crash. So you have to use the command kill, and then I will show you how to list all the running processes on your system and changing the configuration files for surfaces, as we know that all surfaces on Kali Linux have configuration files that you can use to change the configuration for this surface. Then we will talk about user management in Kali Linux, how to display all users in Kali Linux, how to add a new user or delete any users on your Kali Linux. So surface management in Kali Linux is going through the surface command, which is used to manage the surfaces to stop or start any surface on Kali Linux. So the syntax for starting, for example, any surface, for example, we will start the Apache surface, which make the virtual machine or any machine as a web server. So the syntax will be surface and the surface name, which is Apache 2, and the action we want to do, which is start. Similarly, if you want to stop any surface, for example, we will use the same surface here, which is Apache 2. We will use the same syntax, surface and surface name, which is Apache 2, and the action this time is stop. If any crashes happen to the system and you want to check all the processes and kill any surface that may cause this crash, you have to use the command kill and specify the process ID of the process or the surface you want to stop. So for example, as we can see here are some of the processes running on the system. For example, if you want to stop the surface SSH, you have to use the command kill and specify the surface process ID or PID. In some cases, you may want to list all the running processes on your system. So as we can see, you use the command ps and the option AUX to list all the running processes on your system. But you have to note that usually in Kali Linux, when we use any command, we use options with this command. We have to add switches before the option we use. So, but this time this is a different syntax. As we know that as we can see, we use the command ps without any switches, ux, then ux, the option ux without any switches, and this is specific for this command only. Also, you may want to check the status for the surface, for any surface, to if you are trying to connect through the SSH connection, for example, and you are not able to do so. So you may want to check the status for the SSH surface, for example. So to do so, we have to use the same command which is used for surface management, the surface command, and type the name of the surface you want to check its status, and the action this time is status, to check the status if it's active or inactive. As we can see here, we have checked the surface SSH status, and the system told us that it is loaded and active and running right now. In some cases, you may want to change the configuration file for any surface. For example, to change the configuration file of any surface in Kali Linux, you have to modify the configuration file of this surface. So if you want to change, for example, the port number for the surface SSH, because for security reasons, it is strongly recommended to change the default port for SSH to avoid brute forcing on SSH credentials and logins, brute forcing. So to do and change the number of SSH surface, you have to go to the configuration file for SSH, which is named SSH underscore config file, which is found like all the configuration files on our system in the folder called etc. Then use any text editor, your favorite text editor, and for me the favorite text editor is Nano, to open the configuration file and start to modify whatever you want to change in the configuration file. So as we can see, here is the configuration file for the SSH configuration, as we can see in the picture, and we can scroll down in this file till we reach the portion or the part when we specify the port number, and we can change the default number, which is 22, to whatever number you want to set. For example, 2212. This is very important to protect yourself and your system against many cyber attacks you can face. Then we will move now to user management in Kali Linux. There are a very important file in Kali Linux which contains all the users and groups on this machine, which is the file password. But as we can see in the picture, not all users on the system have the login privileges. For example, there are users called games. It is doesn't have any login privileges. As we can see, there is no login for this user, but these users are created for some services purposes only. Now we come to an important part, which is how to add new user to Kali Linux. The command is very simple to add new user. It is add user and the name of the user you want to add. It will ask you to set password for this user, and it will start to create and add this user to the group you can specify, or the default group, and then create the folder which will hold the personal files for this user. Also, we can use the command del user and specify the name of the user you wanted to delete, if you wanted to delete any user from your system. But you have to be either logging with the root user or have the sudo privileges to delete any user from the system. This was a very quick demonstration for service management in Kali Linux and user management in Kali Linux. If you have any questions, please contact us on our Facebook group, Information Security Tutorials. Thanks.